Hello, hello. I am Ben Pick, and thank you for joining me in Writing to Write, where I used to give questionable writing advice through running metaphors, but have since switched over to hosting productivity sprints. That way I can catch up and actually push out and publish my fourth novel. So I got my three behind me. I'm working on my fourth. I'm currently in the editing process, and I have a tentative editor for the new year. So thanks for moving forward with that. And thank you, Adriana. Hey, Richard, how's it going? And funnily enough, well, not funnily enough, fun enough, this week I'm off work. So I have a full week to play games, to read, to write, to actually enjoy my days, as opposed to spending 8+ hours every day sitting in a chair and getting work done. But, that's the thing. Miss Paige, hey, how's it going? Thank you for joining in. Thank you for saying hi. And yeah, I'm so glad that you're here too, because you have a link that's available for some publishing tips, and I'm going to post that link right here. Let me see if I can find it. Not for some reason. My internet's been going really slow today because everybody's back home. Not me, everybody, but everybody in the neighborhood is at home and absorbing bandwidth. So things have been going quite slow today. But how has your week been starting? Mine's been a lot of fun, and I definitely enjoy the amount of time I've been able to relax. I had a very lazy Sunday yesterday, and I'm planning to just kind of keep on rolling with it, and have a kind of lazy week. So I have a couple of chapters I want to get in. I've been doing some great work there. I have progressed significantly. I think I've averaged about a chapter a day, well, a little under a chapter a day for every day since last Monday. So I'm actually going to be starting off with chapter 14 and moving on to chapter 15 pretty quickly. So I do it in cycles where I'll do a complete edit of a chapter, go through it, take me anywhere from 20 minutes to an hour, and then I'll just do something else and then come back to it later. So each day I try to get a complete 2 rounds done of each chapter. And like I said, Miss Paige, this is a wonderful link there for publication advice and how to do it with 3 steps. Yeah. Nope, I can't say that. My weeks start off with having to log into 7 different systems to maintain access, which is really funny because a decade ago when I was studying for all these security certifications, they basically say that you should enforce mandatory leaves of absence every so often, because that way you can clear people out of the system who maybe aren't doing work for a specific client after 6 months, or that way it's primarily done through banks, where you want to make sure that every 6 months or so somebody takes a full 2 weeks off, because that way you can sort of clear them out of the system and make sure that they aren't doing anything weird when they go away. So if they don't log in, is there weird money transfers occurring, and it helps reduce fraud. But since now that everything can be scripted out, I have no idea what it's like 10 years later after taking all those exams. So I'm sure even if you are on vacation, you could still script something through to do all kinds of fun things. But the whole point being that I have to start off every week with logging into 7 different systems, and it looks like one of them in the new year is going to be reduced. So my burdens will actually be less. Although in theory, it's a bad thing, since it means I won't be doing work for the client, but at the same time, oh well. Let's see here. It took 3 days away from the computer. Yes. Awesome. I fully support that. I try to disappear from my phone every so often and just go completely dark while I will sit there and read or play video games. I got the Xbox 360, nice Old Republic set up there. almost done with that game. I think it's nicely over Republic 2, but something which is not connected to the internet, which is great. That being said, I also play a lot of AoE. I met a couple of people online and they try to play every night, so I try to join them as well. And it's a lot of fun doing that. But at the same time, one less fast to write down. You're assuming I have things written down, Richard. I have multiple password managers, and they have everything stored in. So I actually don't know what most of my passwords are because it's all just copy and pasted from somewhere else. But with that out of the way, let's get started. I'm anxious to get to writing. I've been so productive this week, and I want to just keep that rolling. The first chapter that I'm going to be working on is chapter 14. It's going to be pretty short. It's 3 pages. I can probably do one complete iteration of that in the first 30 minutes, and then I can move on to chapter 15. And then the second productivity sprint, I'll probably go back to do another round of chapter 14 and then work on chapter 15, whatever. So that is my plan for tonight. And I hope you all join me. So let's get started. I'm going to be silent for 30 minutes, and I will see you all on the other side. And welcome back, everyone. So that was an exceptionally productive sprint for me. I finished off chapter 14, like I said I would, because it was very short. And I moved on to chapter 15, where I'm 3.5 pages in. Yeah, 3.5 pages in. So I am halfway done with 15, done with 14. So my plan is to finish 14 again in the second sprint, start working on 15, and then finish out with 15 in the third sprint. And if I can do, I'll probably only, we'll see. So if I can get 15 done in the second sprint and then do a complete round of 15 in the third sprint, I am comfortable with moving on to 16 tomorrow. Whew. So hopefully this week off, I'll be able to be exceptionally productive with writing. I have no idea what that will entail, but I am really glad with how quickly I've been moving through. Like I said, I've been averaging about a page. Well, I would say about 5 chapters a week is a good assumption. Maybe 4, depending on the length of the chapters. So each day I will go through at least one iteration, and then I'll do an iteration of the previous chapter and then move forward. So it's kind of bouncing all around, but it is a great way to do multiple rounds as quickly as I can without rereading the same chapter 3 or 4 times. Because when I do that, I miss obvious things. So I've talked about before where I sometimes read what I think is on the page and what's not, and not what's actually there. So the more back-to-back cycles I do of a chapter, the more likely I am to miss specific details. And that's why I like bouncing back and forth. So going to 14, completing that iteration, then going to 15, completing that iteration, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right. Ooh, awesome. I was not paying attention, but yeah. Let's see if I can hit 400 by Christmas. That would be great. Apparently, I've gotten 6 new subscribers in the past week, so I'm not really doing anything to be found because these are productivity sprints. I did a lot more promotion stuff when I was giving writing advice instead of just hosting productivity sprints. But yeah, it's cool if I can get up to 400. That would be awesome, awesome, awesome. And I'll probably find some way to do a 400 subscriber thing if we do get up there. More than likely, it'll probably be something in the spring because it's a roller coaster in terms of subscribers. So I am not going to hold my breath on that. Oh, yeah. Ditto managers on password. Ditto on password managers to run your life. Yeah. Makes complete sense. I mean, I have one at work. I have one on this computer. I have one on all my computers that are spread out. It's the same password manager for my personal devices, but it is local only. So I use a cloud-based password manager for work. So that way, if I am ever unable to log in, or if there's other issues where internet might be a problem, I can use a different device to then help me log in and all of the other things. And for my personal devices, I just have, like everything else, a whole bunch of different copies of it, which is bad because I guarantee you that different copies have different passwords when I need to like update things. So in theory, the password manager I have on this computer doesn't match the one I have upstairs. So whatever. It's just one massive local network disaster. Oh, awesome. Looks like you might be going, well, hopefully that's good news going on in Arizona. I don't know. But either way, you get a trip out of it. So that's pretty good. Yeah, exactly. Password managers for the win. But I'm feeling good. So let's get started on the second sprint. And I guess at the end of this, let's talk about how productive we've been in the past 20 minutes. So I'm going to start the second sprint and then shout out what you're working on. Shout out if you're going to be lazy this whole week and sit around, play video games, read, how many books you want to finish over Thanksgiving, if you're partaking, really just anything. So I will see you all in 20 minutes. And welcome back, everyone. How did your sprint go? I was less ambitious, less productive than I thought, and I just did another pass of that shorter chapter. On the right side, I did find an inconsistency issue between some grammar in previous books, so I needed to normalize this current version. It's basically how to spell firsthand. So firsthand can be spelled all one word with a hyphen in it, and then as two words. With two words, it's the British spelling. With the hyphen, it's the US version. But also, in the previous couple of books, I did some research and figured out in the past I combined them all into one word. So I changed this instance of firsthand in the current chapter to all be one word. And luckily, I have fixed that mistake, and there are no other instances of it in this novel. So moving forward, I have my whole grammar word usage thing where I say explicitly which version of the words I'm using. And there's a whole bunch of different nuances in there. But for instance, this one is a great example where there's three different ways to spell firsthand, and I'm using one specific instance across all my novels. So yeah, and going back to my crazy method, I at one point in time tried to have different instances of grammar depending on the point of view character, but every editor who looked at that just thought that was the stupidest thing ever, and rightfully so. So we made that change, and now the grammar that I'm using is consistent across the novels and not character specific. Although that would have been a really cool detail to show if people say have tendencies towards UK English versus US English versus wherever. So just a fun thing to share right there. But what it means is in doing that research, I did not get to chapter 15. So I'm probably going to, I finished chapter 14. My plan is to finish chapter 15 in the third and final sprint, and then to work on chapter 15 tomorrow, maybe start chapter 16. That would probably be ideal. Let me see how big chapter 16 is. It doesn't seem too bad. Oh, wow. Never mind. 3,200 words. So I'm going from roughly 2,500 to 3,200. So 16 is a bit of a long one. Yeah. So that's right. I am moving into a longer section of chapters before I break away, and in about 7 chapters, I do the really short ones that I'm going for. So it's all good. Words are words, but it does slow me down to do multiple iterations of a longer chapter versus a short one. As you saw with chapter 14, I was able to just roll right through it. Chapter 15 will take some time. Yes, it is a cool idea, but I guarantee you most of the people reading it won't pick up on it and might just think that it's a mistake on the editor or author's part. So I don't know. Maybe there's a way that I could do it and say like, hey, this person speaking regularly in a UK dialect, but then you have to mess with dialects, and it would just become a sprawling mess. And even then, I'm willing to bet that most of the readers wouldn't actually get it, but the people who do might get more out of the story. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah. Oh, that would. Yeah. So if it's a text, that's one thing. You can do color, where it's the English. American English version of COLOR versus the UK version of COLOUR and all that fun stuff. So, oh, cool. So, Miss Page, good of you to watch journaling videos. Oh, well, I'm sorry about the reason you're going to Arizona, but hopefully you'll be able to make a trip out of it. And at least you'll get to spend time with family. So, that is really good of you to help take care of family. But I am excited to get started on the third and final sprint. So I'm just going to roll right into it. I'm going to work on chapter 15, and then I'm going to do an outro and share the Miss Amy Page. Well, no, so the isn't all right. So hold on. I'm going to pause this. I thought that the spelling is the same for aluminum if it's between UK and American English. The difference is that the UK say aluminium, even though it's spelled the same. So on the paper, it would look identical. It's just they would actually say it out loud. The spelling is different. Okay. Well, I'm going to just do a little research here because that is fascinating. UK spelling aluminum. Oh, you're right. There is, there is that extra I there. So we dropped the I and it's aluminum versus aluminium. That is, wow, that is a very, very niche thing and something that I would completely look over when reading it. Yeah, I don't know why. For some reason, I thought it was spelled the same and they just pronounce it differently, but it makes complete sense that there's an extra I in there. So that is really cool. But yeah, like I said, if I were reading a book and somebody were trying to do that where they were showing that this person has a UK background and they did aluminium, I would just still read it as aluminum and that would just go whoosh, right over my head. Yeah, I know they do. They do it with a lot of words, but a lot of times the differences are silent, like color. So color spelled the same. Obviously, there's was it the tube versus elevate? I don't know. Me and Richard make fun of the way each other talk all the time, and we go back and forth. So yeah, it would be them ribbing on each other, but they all have similar backgrounds. There's well, first of all, we're 4 books in, and nobody's UK, so I don't know. I feel like yeah. Anyways, I'm going to start this third and final sprint, and then call it a day. So with that in mind, I'm going to start chapter 15. I know, and you have a very valid point, but I want to get to working on my productivity sprints. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me for all three sprints. Thank you, Emma, for joining in and for reminding people to hit that subscriber button, because I am terrible about doing all the YouTube things. So yes, I do appreciate people helping me out with algorithms by giving instructions when I forget to do so. And yes, Richard, thank you for coming back. I can only assume that you had a nice nap and you're back to say goodbye. Just in time, perfect timing. So it is 7:30 night. This is going to be my week of relaxation. I'm going up to my family's for Thanksgiving. I'm having some family come over technically tomorrow, and then I guess on Saturday. But for the most part, I am not working. I have basically a free week, so I'm going to be playing lots of Age of Empires, lots of Knights of the Old Republic, and I'm going to be writing and editing. So that's my goal. That's what I'm going to do. And I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful Thanksgiving for those of you who partake. And I will see you all next Monday when I'm back at work. No, I'll see you all next Monday, and I hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful week, spending time with family, spending time with friends, and just take the time to reflect on what we've done this past year. I know it's not the end of the year, but this is still Thanksgiving in the US, so we usually try and think about what we're thankful for. And so I am very, very thankful for all of you for coming in every week and just keeping me honest with writing and sharing your own experiences and just having this wonderful community where we can all get together on Monday nights, hang out, talk, and be productive together. So I will see you all next Monday, and hopefully by then I'll be in the 20s for chapters to work on. I might just be in 20. I don't know I don't want to oversell how productive I'll be this week, but in theory, I could be in chapter 20 next Monday. So I will see you all Monday at 6 p.m. Take care and have a wonderful, wonderful night and a wonderful week as well. See ya.